Lisa, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Lisa. Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to those who are joining us here in the council chamber. Thank you to Kim in the BevCam booth who's got us up and streaming so that folks can follow us live either on cable or streaming on BevCam. We appreciate BevCam for making sure all of our meetings are accessible in that way. Before I officially call this meeting to order, I always like to just go over what's on the agenda just so we're all on the same page, councilors and those joining us in the chamber alike, and thank you for joining us this evening. This evening, we have a special meeting of the Beverly City Council. The main purpose and main agenda item for this meeting is the public hearing on the proposed FY26 budget, and so we will get to that in fairly short order. If you are a member of the public arriving now or watching as you're coming here and you are interested in signing up to speak as a public speaker in the public hearing, I know some folks have already done it, the sign-up sheet is over on the table by the window here. You can get up at any time, doesn't matter if the meeting is going on or one of us is talking, and add your name to the list. And when we come to the portion for public comment, then we will take those public speakers in the order that they are signed up, and we'll talk more about the whole process for getting up and speaking and how that works when we get to it, but you can sign up at any point over there. And I will say that again, probably more than once during the meeting. So if you're hearing it now, I'm sorry, because you'll hear me say it again so that people can follow along. At the conclusion of the public hearing, our Finance and Property Subcommittee will need to meet within the confines of this meeting. This is a process piece. This is so the subcommittee can officially move the budget back to the full council for Monday night's meeting, which would be the opportunity on the 23rd for the full discussion and final vote by the full council on the proposed budget. So with that, I'll officially call to order this special meeting of the Beverly City Council, Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, 7 o'clock p.m. Ms. Kent, will you please call the roll?
Bowen. Here. Crowley. Here. Feldman. Hausman. Here. Rotundo. Here. Spang. Here. St. Hilaire. Here. Sweeney. Here. And Flowers.
Here. Thank you, Ms. Kent. Councilor Bowen, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Councilor Bowen. I want to just take a moment as we're getting underway here to mention that we do have some of our city staff as well as some of our school committee colleagues who are here with us this evening, and just recognize and thank them for being here. So we have our city finance director, Mr. Brian Ailes, is here with us. Thank you, Mr. Ailes. Our assistant solicitor and city solicitor appointee, Beth Old-Mixon, is here with us. Thank you, Ms. Old-Mixon. Our assistant clerk, Katie DuPont, is here as well. And of course, our city clerk, Lisa Kent, is here. Thank you both for all of your work. Ms. DuPont, thanks for helping us shepherd through the subcommittee process with the budget. Ms. Kent, thank you, of course, for these meetings. School committee president and Ward 1 school committee member Rachel Abel is here with us. Thank you, Ms. Abel. School committee member from Ward 2, Canan McKenzie DeFranza, is here as well. Thank you, Ms. McKenzie DeFranza. Ward 5 school committee member Karen Robinson is here with us, as well as Ward 6 school committee member Lorinda Visnick. Thank you both for being here. Am I missing school committee members or city staff? Yes, thank you. And our city council budget analyst, Mr. Jerry Perry, is also here with us this evening. Thank you, Mr. Perry. And of course, thank you to all of the members of the public that are here with us in the council chamber, joining us here, intending to speak, or just participating by your engagement and your presence. Both are equally important and deeply valued in this space and by the council, and we appreciate that you are here, offering your time, and that some of you also are signing up to share your thoughts and your words. I do want to now officially open the public hearing, and so I will open our posted public hearing on the proposed FY26 budget. Ms. Kent.
Order number 171, the City of Beverly ordered the City Council hold a public hearing on June 18th at 7 p.m. at 191 Cabot Street, Council Chambers, relative to the proposed FY 2026 budget and setting the water and sewer rate. And this was in the newspaper on 6/11/25.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Typically with public hearings, councilors, we have a chance to have some context provided right at the beginning because we're delving into the process of whatever the conversation is about at that public hearing for the first time. Of course, this budget process has been one that we've undertaken and the school committee before us over a series of weeks and even months. And so before we just jump right in, I think it might be helpful to ask either Mr. Ailes, Mr. Perry, anything that either of you would like to offer just by way of overview or context. I know you're here for questions from the council. Mr. Ailes is gesturing to you, Mr. Perry, so we will go to you for any sort of just overview to kind of help us get some context and get things started here. And then I'll do a few questions, perhaps if there's clarifying questions from the council, particularly any questions about process or what Mr. Perry or Mr. Ailes have been sharing with us over the few weeks. Not our full budget discussion. We'll have a chance to do that on Monday, and I think we want to be able to take into consideration everything we'll hear this evening. And I don't want to keep members of the public waiting over long. So I'll take some questions if it feels like we're going on rather long as a council. I'll hold us so we can get to the public so that they can have a chance to speak earlier in the evening. Thank you, Mr. Perry. I'll turn things over to you to help us get started.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I'm more than happy to turn this over to Mr. Ailes if he wants to come up here, but I don't think he does, so that's all right. I've been asked tonight to spend a few minutes to talk a little bit about the budget process and how it works, both with our charter and the statutes, and then as well as to refresh everybody's memory on some of the financial position of the city, the numbers that I articulated to you all last week. I'll get into that, and hopefully I'll be as brief as possible. Budget process really starts, in my view, back in November when we start talking about financial forecasting. As you know, we predicted a deficit, which is somewhat true there, but that's when the budget process begins. After the holidays, Mr. Ailes starts working with all the department heads, including the school department, to try to determine what the requests are, what it looks like, what do the revenues look like. He works with the assessors on the revenue side. So the budget is an ongoing process that really starts, in my view, in November and certainly picks up in January, February, and March. When a budget comes before the city council, the action is that of the mayor under both state law and our city charter. That's the proposal before you. That's what you get to vote upon. You don't really have other options. You can't do other things. As you know, the state laws and the charter prohibit you from increasing a budget. You are not allowed to take from one pot of money, put it to another, like you couldn't take from the police department and put it in the schools. You're prohibited by state law as that. All you really can do is reduce or reject any request of the mayor. That's the only authority that the city council, not only here in Beverly, but throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has when it comes to the budgetary process. And we go through our things. As you know, we had, under the leadership of Chairman St. Hilaire, we go through our hearings there. We have department heads in. Tonight is a good night where you do have a public hearing. That is not only historically here in the city of Beverly, but obviously all municipalities has. This is very normal. It's good to hear from the citizenry on that, and certainly I encourage you to move that forward there. You have 2 meetings left, one tonight, of course, and then you have one final meeting posted under the open meeting law next Monday night, where you are scheduled to take a vote on that. It is my strong recommendation as your budget analyst and management analyst that you vote Monday night to do a budget. Because if you do not pass a budget come Monday night and you don't pass a budget at all, there's a whole host of serious consequences that occur with regard to that area. As an example, if we don't have money appropriated for July 1, the city literally shuts down. We can't do payroll. We can't pay our bills. We jeopardize public safety. We can't pay police officers or firefighters. We also jeopardize public health, especially the water and sewer systems, because we don't have staff to maintain those systems if we don't pass a budget. You'd have to pay unemployment for a period of time whenever the budget kicks in, which is problematic. And then finally, what would happen if we don't pass a budget? You're going to jeopardize your bond rating. So these are areas you have to consider. Again, that's for these reasons and a whole host of other factors. I strongly urge the city council to vote a budget next Monday night. I've been asked to talk quickly about some of the financial figures that hopefully give some context to what you're going to deal with. The mayor is requesting $173,716,413 in appropriations. There is $7.7 million new dollars, or a 4.67% increase from last fiscal year. With regard to where some of the expenditures are going, the Beverly Public Schools are seeing a 9.07% increase, or $7.1 million for FY26. Their budget incorporates 90.77% of all new revenues coming into the city this year. The VOC education is going up by 10.8% from FY25 for 206 students. All public education funding with new revenue incorporates 96.5% of all new revenues going for public education for the students within the budget for the students of the city of Beverly. The mayor, on the municipal side, we're seeing a decrease of $1.4 million in expenditures. A lot of that has to do with the shifting of a few things. We no longer do roads and sidewalks. We can't afford it, given the challenges we see in the budget, so the roads and sidewalks are shifted over now to reserves and free cash. You just voted that the other night. We're also seeing other shifts. As an example, public services equipment is now being shifted. We're looking at that for free cash. Police cruises, we heard the chief last night talk a little bit about that. So what's happening, because of the challenges associated with the budget, we're seeing a shift away from operational costs over to reserves just to maintain the services there. But the bottom line to it, we're seeing a decrease in municipal services on the budgetary side. We are also at, there's no more excess levy capacity. Last year, we had $688,000. That is gone. We've incorporated that into the budget, as well as the 2.5%. The new growth is calculated at $1.2 million, which I think is appropriate in nature. And there is no more excess, there's no more levy. We are at the levy limit. There's no more ability to raise property taxes, to raise any more money for any department, in my opinion, unless something happens in the future. If, as an example, though, more money should materialize. You know, again, I urge you to vote a budget next Monday night, but you have the ability, or the city has the ability under state law to do what is known as a supplemental appropriation. Should more money occur, you have up until the point we set the tax rate, which is in early December, to raise more money. In my opinion, based on all my research and watching what's going on at both Washington, D.C. and within the State House, I do not anticipate more money coming in. As a matter of fact, it's my view, I'm more worried the other way. I'm really concerned, especially with Washington, D.C., with the cuts on federal awards, especially in the school systems, is very much concern to me. And as I told you last week in my presentation, the governor has put a hiring freeze at the State House, so they're worried up there as well. So we have to be cognizant of that. Madam President, I can go on forever, but I think I'm going to stop there. I hope that answers some of the questions that have been posed to me by some of you over the last day or so, and I'm more than happy if you have a couple of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. As I mentioned, I will allow a few questions from the council. Councilor Tendo, I see your hand before we go to you, if it's okay. I just know we have members of the public still joining us, so I'd just like to, first of all, say welcome and thank you for being here. That's most important. And second of all, just wanted to mention, you may have noticed the city clerk pick up the beginning of the sign-in sheet so that we'll have that, but she has put a new sign-up sheet, so if you are coming in and you want to speak as a public speaker in the public hearing when we get to the public comment section in just a little bit, you can still get up at any point. As I said, doesn't matter if the meeting is underway, one of us is speaking. If you come in and you'd like to sign up, you can go over to the table by the window here, just add your name, and we'll continue to work through that list of public speakers as we have them signed up. So thank you. Again, that's probably not the last time you'll hear me say it. I know folks will be joining us, and do try very hard to make the process in our public meetings as accessible and easy to follow as possible. I know sometimes they can be a little hard to figure out why we're bouncing around from thing to thing. So I'll try to keep explaining what we're doing as we're doing it. So Councilor Rotundo, I saw your hand, so we'll go to you first.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Perry, I don't know if this is necessary for you, or it could be to the Assistant Solicitor. A few questions in regards to the presentation you just gave us. If we were to vote the totality of the budget, we can't vote down particular departments. Like last night I had asked police department or school department in this case. We don't have that authority to vote single departments down from a budget. Is that correct?
You could reduce a department.
So I could reduce the police department to 0, say, for instance?
Yes, you can, by law, yes.
But I couldn't require the mayor to take that $10 million budget and put it wherever, roads and sidewalks.
If that's a great question. So the question is, I think, if you reduce a budget, let's say to 0 at the police department, which is like about $8 million, the only way you could take that $8 million, the mayor would have to come back to you and take the $8 million and put it wherever. The city council does not have the ability to cut the budget and then take the money and put it wherever you want. You do not have that authority by law.
If we were to vote the totality of the budget to send it back to the mayor, procedurally speaking, How does that, I know you stated that it would affect our bond rating as well as payroll, but there's a particular time period. How many days would that be process-wise? That if we, from when we receive the budget to sending it to the mayor? I know there's a legality question in that, and I don't know if you're able or.
Well, there is some legal issues. I've never heard of a city council that sends it back to the mayor. I don't know. I guess legally you could do it, but I don't understand why you would do that. It makes no sense to me. The mayor's given his budget to you. Unless he has new money, in my view, in my opinion, as your budget analyst, there's no more money. So if you're going to send it back to, I don't know what you would do with it, I guess, unless you're trying to shift money around. But in terms of the timing, I would defer to our city solicitor in terms of, there's 45-day rules and submissions. I would defer to that, or it looks like Mr. Ailes is getting up, so. But I will say this to you as your budget analyst before Mr. Ailes gets here. I strongly advise you not to send anything back, to vote a budget Monday night. That is my opinion, and that's what you're paying me money to be up here. That's the best interest for everyone in the city of Beverly, in my opinion.
So, Mr. Ailes, I see that you are at the podium.
Yep.
So, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to clarify on the question, there's actually only two actions that can be taken: approval or reduction. Those are the formal actions that can be taken. If the council decides to take no action, there's no action taken. There's no action to send it back to the mayor. It's just we're not taking action. Then that kicks into a 45-day clause from the day the mayor submitted the budget that it becomes effective at the amounts that were submitted by the mayor. So no action would effectively approve the budget as is 45 days from the day he submitted it, which would be July 17th. So we would go through a period that Mr. Perry alluded to where we would shut down, and it would cause the types of disruption and complicate matters that Mr. Perry alluded to. So those are the two actions you can take, or not.
Okay. I think that was all I had for questions at this time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Counselor. Counselor Bowen, I saw your hand, please.
Thank you. Just still on the process points, just wanted to clarify, once a budget for a fiscal year is passed, then there are many actions that can still happen throughout the year after the budget is passed. So, Mr. Perry, you mentioned a supplemental appropriation that can happen either because we're authorizing a loan order for a project, and that's sort of the funds that will be available, and then we get the project going. Or it could be grants or money that wasn't built into the projections up front. We didn't know we could budget against, but then become available. There's also interdepartmental transfers that are initiated from the mayor's office, come to the council, are discussed and can be approved or not. That's how we do free cash transfers. It's also how we transfer money from one department to another. And there's also intra-departmental transfers where a department head can move money around within their budget with the approval of the mayor, I believe. Are those the main actions that could rearrange or shift a budget after it's passed?
Yes to all of that.
So I think I raise those things to just say that if there are concerns about specific department budgets or the budget overall within the envelope that we have, we're asked to pass a budget of a spending plan. We then have 6 months to see if the revenues are matching that plan. But we are doing that based on revenue projections that have held true in the past and that we can budget against. So I think we can assume the envelope kind of is what it is, but there can be movement within a budget even after it's passed and the fiscal year starts. So if there is interest in that among counselors or the public, we still have channels to do that advocacy and to ask for those changes within specific departments or even across departments. It just is a separate process at that point. So, I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Counselor Bowen. Counselor St. Hilaire.
Yeah, and I'd also remind counselors that even though we have limited authority per the city charter, you know, we do represent the residents of Beverly, and if we feel the priorities reflected in this budget are misaligned, this is our opportunity to send that message to the administration and potentially have that opportunity down the line to realign. So I would certainly encourage counselors to be vocal about that.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there other questions from counselors at this point? And if not, I would like to go to our public speakers because, as I said, I know folks are here giving us their time, and I don't want to keep them waiting as we're talking because we'll have further discussion. All right. So again, members of the public, thank you for joining us for this public hearing. If you have not yet gotten a chance to sign up to speak, or maybe you came in not completely sure that you would want to sign up to speak, but as we're getting underway, there's something that you would like to be able to say. Again, there's a sign-up sheet over on the table by the window. Please feel free to get up and add your name, and we will take the public speakers in the order that we have them. And if folks are following on BevCam because you're on your way here, when you get here, you too can add your name to that list to be able to speak. I do have the beginning of the sign-up list, so when I call your name, first I will just say my apologies if I mispronounce your name or misread it. Please just let me know that when you get to the podium, and I will apologize in advance for any names that I do mispronounce inadvertently. When you begin, you'll have a chance to let me know I said it wrong because you will please begin with your name and address for the record, and so that's for all speakers, even if I've gotten your name right. It helps with the public record, it helps folks following on BevCam. Vice President Crowley is our timekeeper. I know if you happen to follow my council social media pages, I tried to share some of this earlier, but I will just share again. We keep a 3-minute time limit for speakers, so you have up to 3 minutes to speak, and that really is to ensure that everybody's voice can be heard and everyone gets an equitable amount of time. So the clock will be facing the speaker, is that correct? So you'll be able to see the time counting down, which I know when I'm speaking, that's really helpful for me to be able to sort of gauge for myself and not be surprised by the timer going off. When the timer goes off at the end of 3 minutes, I will ask you to draw your remarks to a close at that point because that really does allow us to, as I said, make sure we hear from everyone and make sure that everyone's time is equitable. So if you're going past your time, I will ask you to draw your remarks to a close. So with that, I believe we're ready to go to our public speakers. And first we have Andrea Tupper. So Ms. Tupper, you can go to the podium, and then if you would begin, name and address for the record, and then when you see the timer run down and hear the timer go off, if you would just draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Andrea Tupper, 7 Museum Road. So, good evening, City Council members and staff. My name is Andrea Tupper, and I have been a citizen of Beverly for over 20-plus years. I am here to give an unbiased analysis of the city's overall financial condition and its consistent investment in education. When I first heard the rumor that the city of Beverly had excess cash on the books, it was before the strike. Something didn't seem right to me about this. Was Beverly really hoarding cash similar to most corporations? I read the Beverly Patch articles authored by Dr. Ferrara highlighting that despite the city's surplus cash and revenue, our school remained chronically underfunded from a local standpoint. So I used my accounting, finance, and investment experience of 20-plus years and did a deep dive of the city's financials, reviewed the data from the Massachusetts Division of Local Service and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, also known as DESE. Sure enough, after looking through the financials, the city had excess cash and revenues, but the city also had a large liability on the books, with a overall negative net position of $114 million as of 2023 fiscal year end. In other words, the city's liabilities were greater than its assets. Despite the city's revenues being larger than the city's expenses, the city of Beverly is operating at a loss, given this negative net position. An investor, before lending money to a borrower, will look at certain criteria of an entity's financial statements to help them determine if they will get a proper return on their investment. Cash and net position would be examples of such criteria. The city's cash balance attracts investors to lend via muni bonds to the city so the city can build a new school it needs or a new police department. For example, the middle school that cost $109 million and a new police department building that cost $29 million represents such investments. From an investor perspective, a borrower having a cash balance with a negative net position mitigates liability and investment risk. Currently, Beverly's free cash is $11 million, or 6.84 of the proposed operating budget. The Massachusetts Department of Labor suggests a free cash balance to be at least 5% of the total budget to ensure fiscal stability. As you can see, the city is in line with that suggestion and not in material excess. Having a cash surplus doesn't represent negligence with the budget. It represents smart investing in our schools and in our city overall. It represents fiscal soundness given the negative net position. So what happens if our cash reserves are used up? Okay.
Thank
Yep.
you
All right,
very
thank
much,
you.
Ms. Tupper. And I will mention any of our public speakers, if your time runs out, of course, please feel free. You can always send your comments to your city councilors, and I know we will read and receive them. So please feel free to communicate with us in that way as well. And the only other thing I should have said before we jumped in, although Ms. Tupper was a great example of exactly that, sometimes it can feel a little strange in a public hearing context. If you are addressing anyone, you're really addressing the chair of the body, and so you can't address each other. We can't address each other this way, crosstalk. It's hard for BevCam to follow, but just procedurally, you're really just addressing me. So anything that you have to say, good, bad, or otherwise, you just send it my way. Thank you. So our next speaker who is signed up to speak is Camille Gentili. Thank you, Camille. So Camille, when you're ready, if you also would start with your name and address for the record, and then you'll have up to 3 minutes. And if you hear the timer go off, just as Ms. Tupper did, if you just draw your remarks to a close at that point. And thank you for joining us, Camille.
Thank you. Camille Gentili, 25 RLF. Hello, I'm Camille Gentili, a 6th grade student that goes to Beverly Middle School and lives in Rattleside. I understand that the FY26 budget is proposing massive teacher cuts. I'm here today to advocate for our teachers, specifically the proposed cutting of the German language program. I think that cutting German classes like German would be detrimental because German impacts the rising 7th and 8th graders in a positive way. One way German helps the rising 7th graders is because it will expand kids' knowledge of other cultures. Germany consistently ranks high in the list ascending cultural influence in Nation Brands Index. Germany has frequently been ranked number 1, showcasing its strong cultural influence and positive global perspective. Additionally, learning German is a great opportunity. Did you know that German is the most spoken language in Europe? That means if you ever want to travel to countries like Germany, Austria, or Switzerland, you actually can be able to talk to people there. It's like unlocking a whole new world. Having German classes for the rising 7th graders would help expand the places kids can travel. German is an official language in 6 countries: Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and Belgium. Additionally, German is spoken as a second language in 14 other countries. This proves that German influences other cultures to make them a better country, and to learn about that, to me, is simply fascinating. If we lose German at our school, students will lose the choices German gives us. And school should be about giving us more choices, not fewer. Not every student wants to take Spanish or French, and that's okay. Everyone learns differently, and some people connect more with German. So let's keep German alive at Beverly Middle School, not just because it's a great language, but because it gives us more chances to grow, explore, and succeed. Please consider the students and our teachers in your decision-making. Beverly has an opportunity to make a positive mark on the world, and the easiest way to do that is through our schools. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Camille. Camille, I know I said this to you when you were coming in and signing up, but it's always really important. We have all these adults here joining us, and we really are glad to have them here for public comment. But we really love and just really appreciate when young people in our community come and speak. And I know it can also maybe feel a little bit daunting, and you did a great job, so thank you. I also have an 8th grader who takes German. He never told me it was the most spoken language in Europe, so I'm going to have to speak to him about that. I can't speak German, so I will speak to him in Spanish about it. Next speaker signed up is Kristen Gentili. Kristen, if you would, name and address for the record, and then you too will have up to 3 minutes. If you hear the timer go off, if you would just draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Kristen Gentili, 25 Rowell Avenue. My name is Kristen Gentili. I have lived in Beverly for the last 15 years. Beverly is a place my husband Paul and I chose to move to. We started our family, we opened our business, which I am proud to say is celebrating its 10th anniversary in March of next year. I'm here tonight because I care deeply about something I know we all care about: our schools, our teachers, and the future of our city. Education is not a line item on a spreadsheet. It is the backbone of a thriving, equitable, and forward-looking community. Yet under the proposed budget for FY26, we are facing reductions to teachers and critical student services. It is not just a budget cut, it is a step backwards when we should be looking forward. I understand the budget is tight. I understand the limitations we are against. I understand costs continue to rise. But I think there are opportunities to look at our budgeting differently and see things for how they are. The city's budget still subsidizes areas like sanitation by over $2 million. We are funding roads and sidewalks from the general fund, while cash reserves sit untapped. We have enterprise funds and user fees that do not reflect today's costs. And we have untapped potential in revising our shared services agreements and payment in lieu of tax agreements. These are not criticisms, I want to be clear. They are invitations to evolve how we allocate resources to meet the needs of today's Beverly, a city that is growing and changing and full of families who believe in public education. This is a pivotal moment for us. We can either pass a budget that cuts from our classrooms, or we can roll up our sleeves, do the hard work, the necessary work, protect our schools, better optimize the rest of the city budget. Let us use our reserves wisely. Let us reevaluate outdated funding models, work together, ensuring no child enters a classroom with fewer teachers, fewer resources, and fewer opportunities because we didn't ask the right questions in this room. I urge you to pause before approving any cuts to our public education. Reconsider how this reflects our values as citizens of Beverly, not just for the coming year, but for the Beverly we are building for the next generation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your service to our city.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gentili. Our next speaker is Karen Robinson. Ms. Robinson, if you'd begin, name and address for the record, and then you also have up to 3 minutes. And if you would just draw your remarks to a close if you hear the timer go off. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Robinson, 19 Shipman Road. I'm here tonight as a public school parent, a teacher, and a lifelong resident who loves this city and its kids. Okay, so we always say that our budget reflects what we truly value. So we talk a lot about what matters to us, safe schools, strong academics, and making sure all students are supported. But what really shows our priorities is how we spend our money. We say we care about our kids, all our kids, but especially those who need the most support, then our budget needs to reflect that, not with level funding, not with more cuts, but with more investment. Our budgets show what we value, so if we truly value manageable class sizes, mental health and behavior supports, and truly compliant special ed classes, then we have to invest in the people and the resources that make those things possible. Enough teachers, enough paras, enough counselors, enough administrators, and smaller class sizes. If we don't fund it, I don't see how we can say that we value it. And we're not going to get results without real investment. This community wants to see higher test scores, improved attendance, fewer behavior issues. I agree, those are all very important goals. But I can say as a teacher, you simply won't get those results without putting in more resources. You can't ask for more without giving more. You can't increase expectations while shrinking staff or stretching those in support roles beyond their limits. That's not how it works in schools. That's not how it works anywhere. And just looking around at who is here tonight, this is the last week of school after one of the most challenging years ever. This is not normal to see this many people in this room. And it shows that people truly care. And they showed up for our kids and for our city and for the future of our public schools. Not because anybody asked us to, but not because it's easy, but because people are desperate for change. If our budget's a reflection of who we are as a community, it has to move us forward. If we want to be a community that supports the students who need it most, that gives staff the tools to do their jobs well and to stay in their roles long-term, and that matches what Beverly says it stands for, we can't keep doing the same and expecting different results. We need to put real funding behind our values. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Our next speaker signed up is Andrea Sherman. Ms. Sherman, if you also begin name and address for the record, and then when you hear the timer go off, just draw your remarks to a close if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Sherman, 78 Water Street. Hi, everyone. As I said, my name is Andrea Sherman. I'm a middle school health educator, a former English teacher, and the president-elect of the Beverly Teachers Association. You may know me from the strike, but I've been an educator much longer than I've been a union leader. In both roles, my mission is the same: to advocate for those who too often don't get a fair shake, especially our students. First, I want to thank the City Council. Your thoughtful questions at recent meetings give me hope. It's clear you care about education, and it shows. Councillor St. Hilaire asked the right questions. If the budget is going up, why doesn't it feel like it's enough? And in regards to the middle school, are we investing in real change, or are we just trying to get by? The superintendent has said that BMS is the district's biggest challenge, so it won't surprise you that many of my middle school colleagues are here tonight to speak up. Let's talk about what's really happening at the middle school. You've asked about class sizes. The superintendent shared elementary and high school numbers, but not middle school. That omission matters. We also do not have a program of studies. I know this firsthand. I've been pushing for a real course catalog since I've moved from English to wellness. And when our CISL representative, Mr. Fiore, brought this up in a meeting, he was told the middle school does not need this. This year, students were re-enrolled in the same course taught by a different teacher simply because there were no other options. That is not meaningful curriculum. I've raised this at school committee meetings before, and I will keep doing so because our kids deserve better. Councillor Flowers, you asked where the superintendent would ask staff if she could. Her answer, reading and literacy. Yet next year, our reading teachers will be teaching classes of 25 students because we don't offer enough electives. That's not reading intervention, that's a Band-Aid to a schedule problem. Next year's new middle school schedule was designed by the current administration with zero educator input. I offered to assemble a committee to develop proposals based on educator experience. I was ignored. Councillor Feldman, I appreciated your comments about funding the schools our community needs. Staff wanted to be part of this process. We work with students every day and have firsthand knowledge about what they need. Why are we rushing a shotgun schedule? Is it the only way to make an insufficient budget work? Councillor Bowen, you mentioned the scale of recent change. We feel it too. Imposing a completely new schedule for 1 year only without educator input adds to the chaos. It doesn't solve the real problems or meet student needs. The result? A rushed, inequitable 1 year plan. It does not create an upper-lower school model. It does not expand course offerings. It does overcrowd electives. It does put interventionists in front of full classes just to cover staffing gaps. It increases instructional time for teachers beyond what's expected anywhere else in the district. If we want to improve outcomes, we can't focus on just instruction. We need to look at structure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Sherman. And I just wanted to acknowledge, I saw you watching that clock tick down and saw you pick up speed. Nice use of the clock management. Are you a former basketball player? I'm just kidding. Scott Sutera, oh, Mr. Sutera, you are already.
I was behind her, so I figured I was next.
I looked and you were gone. Okay. Mr. Sutera, if you'd begin with your name and address for the record, and then you two have up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Scott Sotera, and I'm the caretaker of room 113 at 502 Cabot Street. I'm responsible for teaching close to 50 incredible students, and I've done this for the past decade. And let me tell you, the families at Beverly are absolutely incredible, and I am blessed to call BMS home for so long. I want to thank this committee for engaging with the superintendent at your last budgetary meeting. As an educator, it was great to see education of Beverly students take center stage. They deserve it, so thank you all very much. As I watched the dialogue between you and the superintendent, one word kept popping into my head: disconnect. There is an absolute disconnect between the decision makers at McEwen and the people working at 502 Cabot. The superintendent just doesn't understand what it means to teach in the largest middle school in the state. To claim that adequate resources have been allocated to where the students' educational needs are is flat out wrong. In 2 short days, I will be saying goodbye to my 5th graders who I love. They represent the largest class in Beverly Public Schools. This fall, I'll be welcoming my new 5th grade class, who I will love just as much, the 2nd largest class in Beverly Public Schools. So if we're allocating resources to where the kids are, in grade 5 and 6 will have the most students, why are we being asked to share a vice principal? That's over 750 families. That's right, they cut a vice principal at the middle school. Now, I don't want you to think that we can just borrow a vice principal from grade 7 and 8. Each grade has its own complexities and needs their own vice principal. So the largest class has 1 critical cut. Currently, grade 5 has 2 adjustment counselors. Now, I know one of them has a different title, they report to a different person, but make no mistake about it, to us teachers, they are resources helping with our students' social emotional needs. Please remember that 5th graders are transitioning to the largest middle school in the state of Massachusetts, and they are part of the 2nd largest class in Beverly Public Schools. We must account for this. Substantial resources are needed when you're working with this many students. Yet we're facing loss number 2 in grade 5, with a decision to cut one of our school adjustment counselors, but we will have a shared 2nd one with, again, grade 6, the largest class. Moving on to losses 3 and 4. Grade 5 will lose 2 of the 5 special educators we currently have. That's 2 less trusted adults and incredible educators who love students to greet grade 5 families as they make the transition to BMS. And when special education students from elementary schools arrive at the middle school, there will be 18 individual education plans per special educator. That's to start. That will go up. This is almost an entire homeroom. Let me do a little bit of math and lay this out for you, please. The losses. We lost a vice principal. We lost a school adjustment counselor. We lost 2 special educators. We're about to welcome 350 families to the middle school in grade 5. That's the 2nd biggest class in Beverly. How does that add up? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sutera. Thank you, Mr. Sutera. Mr. Melanson, you too have anticipated that you are the next speaker.
I can't let Scott show me up, so.
If you would begin with your name and address for the record, and then you as well have up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Chris Melanson, 24 West Dane Street. Sorry for the voice. Last week of school. I'm here tonight to fight for the students of Beverly Middle School. I'm here because of Counselor Feldman. I'm here because she stated that our community needed civil, respectful, and public discourse. She urged community members to stay involved in the approximately 7,000 budget meetings that take place in June. Thank you for that reminder. I'm here because of Counselor Rotundo. I've seen firsthand the deep care, fierce support, and unwavering dedication he brings to our schools, staff, and city. I hope to advocate for my students with the same boldness and heart he shows in serving his constituents. I'm here because of you, Counselor Flowers. You eloquently stated that children of this community are all of our children. It has been highlighted over and over again in public forums at all levels of city government that Beverly Middle School is a challenge to manage, schedule, and provide for with the equity and justice it deserves. All of our children in that building need us to have the courage to say no to these substantial cuts and to try again. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world for the better. And tonight and next week, you counselors hold that power squarely in your hands. I'm here to answer Councillor Hausman's question about space and flexibility for effective teaching and learning. What was once a promise of outdoor classrooms, maker spaces, and access is now the opposite. There are no maker spaces. There are multiple roadblocks and limited time to use learning spaces beyond the classroom. This is extremely challenging for our staff and students, and yet our teachers, true miracle workers, keep showing up, because it's not brick and mortar that makes a school, it's the people inside of it. And on that point, I'm here because of Councillor St. Hilaire. His sincere and raw passion at the special council meeting last November was truly moving. I want to personally and publicly thank him for his reflections and honesty. Also, his line of questioning, along with many of other members of this council during the superintendent's budget hearing, was a true breath of fresh air. Bodie would identify that as an idiom, Councillor. I'm here tonight to help answer the question he and others posed about what the schools could do with more funding at BMS. Answer: don't eliminate and cut our integral people. Content teachers, special education teachers, not have one administrator in charge of nearly 800 students, not eliminate mental health and community counselors, hall monitors, support staff, and the list goes on. I'm here to educate you all tonight. Numbers and words on a slideshow, a creatively illustrated graph, or a superintendent's presentation and answers do not and cannot tell the whole story. Until you witness and immerse yourself in the actual experience of educating middle schoolers in 2025, you will never fully understand the challenges we face each and every day. And I say this not to cast a shadow of blame, but to shine a light of hope and understanding, truly. As a 17-year veteran educator in your city, I'm here tonight to tell you that I live, teach, laugh, cry, bleed, worry, and occasionally rip my pants at recess in this world of teenage stress, exploration, craziness, and brilliance. And I come back year after year. I'm here tonight to tell you loud and clear that we do have a staffing and funding crisis at BMS, and I'm here tonight to implore you to fight, understand, to work alongside us, and vote to fix it. And lastly, I'm here tonight, hopefully, in the room where bravery happens, whether that is tonight, Monday, or down the line. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melanson. Our next speaker is Jacqueline McAfee. Ms. McAfee, if you also begin with your name and address for the record, please, and then you have up to 3 minutes. If you hear the timer go off, just please draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline McAfee, 502 Cabot Street, and I'm a teacher at the Beverly Middle School. I've been an ELA teacher at the middle school for 20 years, and I've only known the educational development of this school district. And the journey has been exciting, progressive, inspiring, energizing, full of hard work, collaboration, and thoughtful risk-taking and new practices that have made Beverly a standout district. We are one of the first districts to train and hire equity coordinators for bullying, one of the first schools to offer intense and in-depth PD on project-based learning before it was a fad. We had more teacher-driven committees that empowered faculty to have agency in their building, often forcing teachers to choose between initiatives because there were so many committees and ways to get involved. We spent grade-wide department meetings after school analyzing data, paging through curriculums, researching programs that fit our students' needs. And before the move to the new building, our scores matched those efforts. We entered the transition solid and ready to spread wings and fly. However, in the past 6 years in our new building, the journey has taken a different path and there have been more wings clipped than soaring. It has been slow and understandable at first. We're trying to get grips, let's change, let's not take on so much. A new grade is joining, let's accommodate that. New faculty coming together, let's respect and navigate those new relationships. And then of course, COVID. But hope was not lost. Our community felt our time would come when dust settled and new protocols, new ideas, new committees, and new relationships would form and we would be invigorated to get back on building the reputation we have worked so hard to create and continue to grow. The teachers were ready to work and do what we do best. And before I continue, I want to make sure that I'm not coming from a place heard as coming from a place of negativity or anger, which is a valid feeling of my colleagues, but a place of truth, calmness, and hope. I cannot give up on the idea we will get there again, but to honestly get on track, we need to make a very distinct and immediate U-turn, financially, socially, mentally, and collaboratively. Administration has been leading us in the wrong direction deliberately and intentionally without listening to the student-facing teachers. There are no platforms in my building where teachers can come together from grades to work with an admin on goals for our school. There are no department meetings across grades where we can discuss the maps and trajectory of our students' education as a 4-year plan. There are no all-together faculty meetings to hear hear messaging in a unified fashion. There are no all-together faculty meetings to hear that, whether the good, the bad, or the ugly. We never hear goals, plans, changes, or intentions at a unified group, a team, or a school. Equity coordinators, PBLs, committees, and even whole school meetings are not common practice anymore. And that's unfortunate, but not the worst of it. We do not even have the basics, the staff, the time, or the funding. Ms. Flowers, I recall at your last meeting mentioning our email exchanges as a parent-teacher about the novel we were reading in ELA with your son, Emmett. I wish so much that was the crux of my teaching experience and changing emails and enthusiasm of my curriculum with everyone. I immersed in everything ELA and inspiring my students to read, write, express, communicate. But with the schedule we have, the time I'm allotted, and the responsibilities I have to accomplish in a day, that joy is a rarity. And again, this is not meant to be a whiny comment or pity, but the truth. I don't want to get lost in the details of how I'm asked to expect to do in the day. I have 110 kids. We're regressing. For as long as I keep thinking I have to work harder, that it was me, I need to take on more. But who's burdening this is not one, but our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McAfee. Thank you, Ms. McAfee. Denise Leiden. And if you also would begin with your name and address for the record, please, and then you have up to 3 minutes if you hear the timer go off, if you draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So I am Denise Leiden, 78 Water Street. So good evening, everybody. I am Denise Leiden. I am a 7th and 8th grade reading specialist at Beverly Middle School. I've been teaching here in Beverly for the last 18 years, and this is my 30th year as a teacher. My job is to provide reading intervention services for students who are reading below grade level, and many of them with significant deficits in their literacy skills. I'd like to bring to your attention the understaffing of our middle school and the significant needs for reading intervention. Before this building was built, back at Briscoe Middle School, the reading program had 4 full-time reading specialists for grades 6 through 8. We provided intervention for hundreds of the most at-risk students each year, and our program was highly successful. Unfortunately, when we moved to BMS, it was reduced to 1 reading teacher, myself, and despite the fact that we added yet another grade level, grade 5. Due to the overwhelming needs in literacy after the first year in this building, we added back 1 more reading specialist. After COVID, with increasing needs in literacy and the ESSER funds, we added 3.5 more reading teachers. At that point, we had 4.5 reading specialists for 1,400 students, approximately 1 specialist per grade level. That lasted just over 1 year, ending in the year of 2023-24 school year, when 2 full-time reading specialists, 0.5, were cut. I spoke about this issue last spring in front of the school committee and pleaded for that they do not cut these necessary positions. Unfortunately, they didn't listen. And due to staffing shortages this year, I was responsible for dividing my time between 2 grades and roughly 600 students. I collaborated with teachers and I fit in as many students into my schedule as possible. And in addition to this, I was asked to proctor 19 out of 22 MCAS sessions, interrupting critical intervention services for my reading students at those times. If you would like to do the math, it's about 3 hours per session. That's 57 hours of instructional time that my students did not receive because I was proctoring MCAS sessions because we don't have enough people to do this work. And here we are at the end of another school year, in addition to cuts in staffing again for the upcoming 25-26 school year. And as a result of these and a lack of staffing, I now have been assigned the responsibility of teaching 1 7th grade global apps class 5 days a week because we don't have enough GA teachers to do the work. And by the way, I was told this yesterday and I have to figure this out. What am I going to do? And this will, again, greatly impact my ability to collaborate with teams, identify and support our more at-risk population, students who have literacy deficits. I'd like to say that this is a rare public appearance for myself. I usually sit in the back. I usually stay quiet. But we are going in the wrong direction. I've been here 18 years. We started out here. We are down here. I'm retiring in 2 years. We've got to fix this problem with our students and our staffing. We know better. So thank you. I hope Mayor Cahill heard this somewhere. I hope he goes back to the budget and fixes this problem for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Leiden. Our next speaker is Jana Dwyer, who I see at the podium. And I'm just going to ask, I know it's really hard when you're coming to the end. If we can, I'm going to nudge us back to Ms. Tupper's very good example of just cutting off at the 3 minutes, just so that we're fair to everybody getting the same amount of time. I know it's hard to do that when you've prepared really excellent remarks. Or speed session, a la Ms. Sherman. Ms. Dwyer, if you would begin with your name and address for the record as well, and then if you hear the timer go off, if you would draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Jana Dwyer, 502 Cabot Street. At the last meeting, Councilor Spang asked, "It sounds like paras are being used to substitute teach. Are there other solutions for that?" Dr. Chirocek responded that we have 87 subs on our sub list for the district, and some don't want to work in certain buildings. She said when we have an excessive number of teachers absent, we need proper supervision, that next year middle school teachers can attend meetings during their duty blocks, and if everyone is in the building every day, we will have correct staffing. If special education teachers are out, it's hard to provide services. And she also said we have more subs when college students are home in the winter and spring. I absolutely agree that we must have sufficient staffing to keep our students safe, but pulling paras to substitute teach for an entire day is not just happening once in a while, it's happening every single day at Beverly Middle School. During the 13 days of June so far, paras have been pulled to sub for the entire school day on 31 occasions. Paras were pulled for a total of 89 hours in June so far to cover for meetings and partial absences. There were 18 occasions in June that there was no sub for a special education teacher for the full day, and there were 17 times that there was no sub for a para for the full day. On 2 occasions in June, special education teachers were pulled to sub for general education teachers for the whole day. I know personally one person who applied to be a sub for the district in May and was told we have enough subs and we are no longer hiring. And I know of one current sub who was told last week that she would not be needed for the whole week. When paras or special educators are pulled to sub, students do not receive their legally mandated service outlined in their IEPs. This puts the district at risk for noncompliance with federal special education laws. When there is a vacancy on a team for a day, when they are down a special educator or a para, it doesn't just disrupt the learning of the special education students, it disrupts the learning for all students on the team because the general education teachers have to do more. It would be ideal if all staff could have perfect attendance, but this isn't plausible, as teachers are humans who get sick and care for loved ones and have personal business just like everybody else. The middle school has been chronically out of compliance with special education staffing this year. It's not something that a new schedule with duty blocks is going to fully fix. The middle school needs more staff so we can make sure all our students can access the curriculum. Next year, there are 15 learning center teachers. In order to run smoothly and be in compliance, we likely need 15 paras for those 15 learning centers, but we will have 7. I urge you to reject the budget and return it to the mayor and school committee, asking them to increase the budget for additional staffing at Beverly Middle School so that we can truly meet the needs of our incredible students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dwyer. Our next speaker is Meg Walsh. And if you also begin with your name and address for the record, and then you have up to 3 minutes. If you hear the timer, just draw your remarks to a close. Thank you.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Megan Walsh, 3 Blake Street and 502 Cabot. I'd like to start by just introducing a quote from Chapter 2, Financing Education in a Climate of Change. It states, "All groups of people who are concerned with education appear to be demanding their own version of accountability, often with little regard for their own responsibility. But the principle of accountability applies to all segments of the school complex: administrators, students, teachers, boards of education, parents, and the legislative bodies. The public schools cannot prosper or achieve their intended place in the lives of their students if any one of these groups is not held accountable for playing its part in the educational process. If any one of these groups is not held accountable in the educational process, and what is this educational process which we seem to be in right now? It is a process expecting that schools must do more but receive less, accomplish thoroughly, but do it quicker, reach further, but have resources held back. Fix all of it, but not be given enough to do it. It is an educational process in which all parties involved seem to agree is impossible, yet all seem to expect it be achieved without any party having to sacrifice for that achievement. The legislative bodies cannot give additional funds because it will shortchange other projects. But still, schools must achieve their expectations. The residents and parents cannot pay additional taxes because their finances are already stretched. But still, schools must achieve their expectations. Boards of education cannot provide proposals for funding realistic and developmentally appropriate goals and objectives. But still, schools must achieve their expectations. Teachers cannot effectively manage instructional demands without the effective provision of resources. But still, schools must achieve their expectations. Administrators cannot thoroughly accomplish the onslaught of initiatives and needs due to staff shortages and lacking instructional spaces. But still, schools must achieve their expectations. And the students? Well, the students have a team of administrators, teachers, boards of education, residents and parents, and legislative bodies who cannot collectively provide what is needed to meet the needs of every learner. But still, those students are expected to achieve. This educational process, as it currently stands, is exasperating. Every year, school districts present to their governing body a budget that presents what they can likely achieve if they figure out how to possibly do without, and if everyone involved is willing to sacrifice a little so that no one is more than just slightly left out. We are in a climate of change. It is time for us to look at how we do things differently and make decisions that don't just follow the status quo, but present alternative options. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Our next public speaker is Casey Fiore. Mr. Fiore, if you would also begin with your name and address for the record, and then when you hear the timer go off, if you would please draw your remarks to a close at that point at the 3-minute mark. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Casey Fiore, 502 Cabot Street. I'm fresh off the bus from the 8th grade field trip to Six Flags, so I apologize if I look or smell like a complete mess. I actually want to speak. I'm an 8th grade teacher. I teach civics. I want to speak to the state of special ed in Beverly Middle School and the impact that the declining resources for it have made on all of our educational opportunities. I'm going to incorporate some thoughts offered by a friend and colleague who is a part of one of our very, very important special ed programs, who is regretting a lot of the decline that is seen in their work. I want to address the current state of special education programming at the middle school. Counselor Sweeney asked why the district believes it has the supports needed for our highest need students, and while this is a couple weeks ago, and while Dr. Turochik shared that out-of-district placements have gone from 105 to 71, and that we've added a preschool counselor and AIM coach, that doesn't reflect the full picture. In reality, we've seen a significant reduction in special education programs over the last 6 years. We've lost TLC, SBI, Opportunities, REACH, all of which supported students with intensive academic, emotional, and autism-related needs. We now operate only 3 programs, and staff cuts have continued. The district often celebrates the drop in outplacements, but that number is misleading. We are keeping more high-need students in district without adequately staffing or resourcing the programs to support them. You can't cut special ed teachers and paraprofessionals and expect to meet increasing needs safely. These programs are overwhelmed and, in some cases, unsafe. We've been asking for the preschool counselor and AIM coach for years. They're long overdue, and I'm glad that's happening. Other districts like Salem have expanded their programs while we've scaled back. If we want to save money long-term, we need to invest in strong, well-supported programs that can actually serve our students. Right now, the families getting outplacements are the ones who can afford to fight. Not everyone can afford that. Not everyone knows the ropes. Not everyone knows what they don't know, nor do they have the knowledge or resources to be able to advocate for themselves in the fullest sense. The rest are left in programs that simply don't have what they need. We need more staff, we need more support, and we need to rebuild programs that can truly serve all of our students. To the point my colleague, Ms. Lydon, made earlier, we're moving in the wrong direction. Cuts are being made when we need many more staff. It's not a small number. If you want Beverly Middle School, one of the largest middle schools in the entire state, to function well, to thrive, you want students here to get the best education they possibly can, it would make sense that we would have one of the biggest budgets for a middle school in the state, or at the very least, something higher than below average, right? We can do a lot better, and if we put the resources and the investment that we need to into that, there's no doubt in my mind that we can make up for all of the loss that's created here. If testing scores, whatever it might be, don't reflect decline in the way that I'm describing, I assure you it's because incredible, hardworking people every day go to work and spread themselves so thin that they are not offering the quality of education that they wish they could be, and they are creating serious mental health struggles for themselves as they work harder than they should have to in order to provide a good education for students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiore. Our next public speaker signed up is Christina Vanderslice. Ms. Vanderslice, if you also would begin with your name and address for the record, and when you hear the timer go off, please draw your remarks to a close at that point.
You got it. Christina Vanderslice, 502 Cabot Street, fresh off the bus. Sorry for my appearance. I'm a civics teacher at Beverly Middle School. Good evening, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I want to applaud the City Council for listening to constituents and stakeholders regarding the city budget and asking relevant and thoughtful questions at the hearing 2 weeks ago. Clearly, the concerns at the middle school were at the forefront of your discussion. I come before you not to create further division, but to ask for your help on behalf of my colleagues and most importantly, our students. As Dr. Chirocek stated, great and wonderful things are happening in our schools. I am proud, as many people have stated tonight, to work at the largest middle school in Massachusetts. I am privileged to work alongside dedicated educators, shout out 8 Balch, who create meaningful, authentic learning experiences every day and consistently put students first. Dr. Chirocek spoke to you about the unique challenges that our school presents. One of those challenges is class size, an issue we feel acutely every single day. Councillor Sweeney asked a question, namely, can we maintain the number of classroom positions while living within our means budget-wise? Curiously, the superintendent's response focused solely on class size. She referenced the school committee's target of 25 students per class, then stated we are well below those marks and highlighted low class sizes at the elementary and high school levels, but noticeably left out the middle school. This year at BMS, 137 classes had enrollments above 25 students. 137. The highest enrollment is a class of 32 in an 8th grade algebra class. This class is right down the hall from me. I see those students every day, hardworking, focused, and taught by an exceptional math teacher. But would they benefit from smaller class sizes and more individual attention as they prepare for accelerated high school coursework? Absolutely. Other classes struggle not because of a lack of effort or skill from teachers, but because they're being asked to do too much with too little. In art, 30 students may be crowded around limited supplies and workspaces while vying for the single teacher's assistance in completing their masterpiece. A total of 40 art classes this year exceeded 25 students. Wellness classes present a similar challenge, with 56 PE classes over the 25 student mark. Many students on IEPs do not receive support in these global application classes. While some students can handle the constant loud hammering in a STEM class or the frenetic pace of mat ball, some struggle, and still just one teacher is trying to meet the needs of students in that room. These numbers aren't just statistics, they represent daily realities that affect the quality of student learning and well-being. I teach civics, not math, but I can tell you, the math isn't adding up. If we are truly serious about trying to improve scores at the middle school, as the superintendent emphasized, investing in people by hiring more staff to reduce class sizes would be more effective than purchasing the next expensive buzzword-filled curriculum. Dr. Chirochik said, budgeting for schools is a very challenging landscape, but if class size is truly a priority, and I believe it should be, I urge you to reject this budget and return it to the mayor with a clear directive, increase the budget for additional staffing at Beverly Middle School so we can meet the needs of our fantastic students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Vanderslice. Our next speaker is Cassie Ruel. And apologies if I'm getting your name wrong. If you would begin with your name and address for the record, and then you as well have up to 3 minutes if you hear that timer go off. Please draw your remarks to a close at the 3-minute mark. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Cassie Ruel, 18 Roosevelt Ave. I'm a Beverly resident, a parent, and a community provider. A month ago, I sat before the school committee filled with hope that my words might influence the understanding of the real impact of this proposed budget. Today, I return with frustration, sadness, and deep concern. I stand here as an advocate for not only my own children, but also for my niece and nephews, for the children of parents who are unable to advocate for any reason, who do not understand this system and their right to advocate, and for every single child in this school district. I chose to raise my children in Beverly because I believed in this city's commitment to education. That belief is faltering. This district has already failed my child. He's 3. It took 6 months for an appropriate evaluation, 7 months to begin services, and 16 months to implement basic safety measures. Yet in just over an hour, his team made the decision to reduce his services that had only been implemented weeks prior. A decision I strongly believe was not based on my son's needs, but based on budgetary constraints. I share this to humanize the concerns we have all expressed with regards to the budget cuts, to show you that the numbers and reports being shared are not encompassing the reality of the children and parents in this district. My son is not a statistic. He's not a number on one of your charts. He is a child with medical and educational needs that are not being met, despite clear legal obligations and agreements to do so. It is unacceptable that parents must fight for their children to be physically safe in school, to fight for agreed upon services to actually be delivered. And now the same district is proposing cuts to essential staff and services when it cannot even meet the basic obligations as it stands. As a parent, community member, and service provider, I am deeply concerned about the safety, well-being, and the future of our children. I urge this council to dig deeper, ask questions, hear testimony, read the emails, and pause to process it before moving forward with a budget that will negatively impact our children.
Thank you, Ms. Ruel. Our next speaker signed up is Stephanie Andrews. Ms. Andrews, if you also would begin with your name and address for the record, and then you have up to 3 minutes. At the 3-minute mark, if you hear the timer, please draw your remarks to a close at that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Stephanie Andrews. I live at 29 Baker Ave in Hamilton. Guten Abend, Frau Präsident. I am the German teacher at the high school, and I am standing here tonight to speak to you in defense of the World Language Department across the district and in defense of the Culinary Arts Department. The decision to cut the German program at the middle school will have far-reaching consequences for our students, our school, and the future of our language program. If we let this cut happen, we aren't just harming middle school students, we are setting up the high school German program for decline. Without a strong middle school feeder program, it won't be long before enrollment at the high school will suffer. And when that happens, the entire German program is on the cutting block. One of the things that sets Beverly schools apart from our neighbors is our language offerings. In addition to world language cuts, I'm here to defend my colleagues in the Culinary Arts Department. Due to budget cuts and the new schedule at the high school, a full-time or part-time culinary teacher will not be rehired for this coming school year. This means that I and a fellow world language teacher will be taking over our culinary classes next school year. Our culinary teachers are incredibly talented. They have worked hard for many years to build a strong program. How can we tell them that anyone can do their job? Anyone off the street? Similarly, World language teachers are highly qualified and highly educated in important electives, such as world cultures, grammar, and in my case, Holocaust and genocide studies. However, instead of teaching these important topics, we will be in a classroom where we have no training and no time to effectively prep or help maintain equipment. At a time when public education and the arts are under threat, we must invest in robust and meaningful language and culinary arts education and not cut it. I urge you to not approve this budget and to fully fund our schools. These positions must be restored for every student in Beverly Public Schools. Let's not take away opportunities our students cherish. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Our next speaker is Judy Martin, who knows that she is the next speaker. I see. Ms. Martin, if you too would begin with your name and address for the record, and then if you hear the timer go off, please just draw your remarks to a close at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is, sorry, and I have no voice either. My name is Judy Martin, and I live at 8 Palmer Road in Beverly. And I'm here to talk specifically about the budget as it relates to the preschool for next year. I am currently a paraprofessional at the preschool. We currently have 11 classrooms at the preschool. We have 22 para positions. We currently have 20 paras at the preschool because 2 people resigned during the year and the positions weren't replaced. So we're operating right now with 20 paraprofessionals. The budget that the school committee put forth will allow for 1 dedicated paraprofessional per classroom, 2 dedicated paraprofessionals for the intensive classroom, as well as 4 additional paraprofessionals. So that's 16 paraprofessionals. They are going to drop from 22 paraprofessional positions currently to 16 positions starting in September. How do you do that and what does it mean? Paraprofessionals help teach skills at the preschool. The preschool is an inclusive preschool. You have to have enough support in each classroom. How does going from 22 positions to 16 positions help a special needs preschool make sure all of their children are learning and supported and safe? How is this addressing the increasing number of behavioral issues that we see every year? There's a reason the preschool went to this current model a few years ago, and that reason was student need. The need has not gone away. It is increasing every year. This model will not give the children the supports that they need, and it will burn out the staff. This year has already taken a toll because we're already understaffed by 2 positions. It makes no sense to increase that understaffing. It recommends severely reducing the staff who work so closely with these children every day and whose constancy allows trust to build and familiarity to grow to foster learning. We all know how much consistency and support is needed for these younger children in particular. As I said, we're already basically using this model at the preschool because we're understaffed and we can't get enough substitutes. Paras are pulled to different classrooms all the time. There are safety issues almost every day, and that's with having classes with 2 paraprofessionals in them. So under this model, what happens when the class sizes increase? Will funds be made available mid-year to add to staff? We also, as I stated, have an ongoing substitute issue, How is this going to work when the recommendation is understaffing from day one, knowing how much bigger a problem this will be when we have no substitutes? I am begging you as a parent of children who went through this program many years ago and are successful. It was a very different program at that time. And as a current paraprofessional, please don't approve and pass a budget that hurts our youngest learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Our next speaker signed up is Lorinda Visnick. Ms. Visnick, if you also please begin with your name and address for the record, and when you hear the timer go off, please draw your remarks to a close at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorinda Visnick, 39 Middlebury Lane, speaking here this evening as an individual and not as in my role as a member of the school committee. I came here this evening specifically to thank all of you for your service It was many years ago when I made my first appearance at this podium. On that date, many, many moons ago, I had been watching the public hearing from home, and then Council President Guanci specifically called out folks watching from home, as you did earlier, Ms. Flowers, to come. He said it wasn't too late. People could still come down and have their say at the podium, and I got off my sofa and came to speak. Thinking back, I have to say it is true that time flies. That first visit, I think, was upwards of 20 years ago. I recall being upset that the fee for EEC was going up significantly, and I urged the City Council to vote no because that change that resided within the school portion of the budget was unacceptable. I don't think any of you, not even you, Mr. Houseman, were on the council at that time. Fast forward a good number of years to the year when two city councilors each brought forward amendments to cut other areas of the budget to make available approximately $100,000 with the hope that those funds could be used to hire one additional teacher and one grade at one elementary school that had class sizes that were considered too high by some, including me. I stood at this podium and advocated for such an action by this body. Though neither amendment passed, I learned at the time that even if the proposed cuts had been made and the money made available, it was not guaranteed to be directed to the school budget. Rather, our charter states that your body can only cut and then write a letter asking that the money be reallocated elsewhere, as Mr. Perry outlined earlier. Speaking of the charter, excuse me, there was a year I came here with a letter in my hand from someone who served on the previous Charter Review Commission, and I asked each of you to consider this interpretation of what the charter says your body can and cannot do. I feel there is some room for interpretation. Yet when the most recent Charter Review Commission met, they chose not to revise that particular portion of the charter that addresses what this body can do if the school committee, by a 2/3 vote, were to provide a number larger than what the mayor puts forth for the schools. As I dig into my formal study of policy and as I attempt to serve the community, I am learning. None of us can know just how much we don't know. And the visual daily double portion of my talk today is this book by Adam Grant, and it's entitled Think Again. And in this book, he says we should embrace the joy of being wrong. Why? How can we be happy about being wrong? Without making each of you read this book, though I do highly recommend it, the answer is we can embrace the joy of being wrong because it is when we are wrong that we learn something new. I'm here this evening to thank each of you for your service to our city, for your patience with me. Each of you has been a positive impact on me and my ability to serve. I appreciate that even when we disagree, we can tip back a cold Diet Coke and continue to disagree without being disagreeable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Visnick. Before I call up the next speaker, we're on to the second page that Ms. Kent had to put out. I just wanted to mention Ms. Kent did just replace this with another sign-up sheet. So if there's anyone here who was wishing to speak, has not gotten to sign up, you can still do so. Don't worry that because I have this sheet now, you can't, but there are 2 more speakers signed up. And so if you were thinking of it, now might be a good time to put your name on the sheet. So we will go next to our speaker who signed up first on the second page, and that is Laura Newton. And Ms. Newton, if you as well would begin with your name and address for the record. I know you all have heard me say this so many times. Name and address for the record, and then when you hear the timer go off, please draw your remarks to a close at that point.
I don't know why you would specifically say that comment before I speak. I was kidding. I'm just saying. Laura Newton, 23 Jewett Road. Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm here tonight not to repeat the data you've already heard because it is clear you have heard it. Educators, parents, students, and community members have shown up again and again to share the truth about what chronic underfunding is doing to our schools. You've heard our stories, seen the numbers, and witnessed the pain behind every public comment. And yet the proposed school budget continues to ignore these voices. The mayor praises himself for offering a one-time historic increase, but even our youngest students understand historic and still not enough are not mutually exclusive. The truth is, the city's schools are suffering. And they have been year after year because of ongoing disinvestment. Disinvestment this mayor has continued since the day he took office, Our superintendent has failed to advocate for the funding our students need, and the school committee has failed to do its job to listen to the community, to grasp the full extent of this harm, and to stand up for the students they were elected to serve. We, the educators, family, and community members of Beverly, are doing everything in our power to stop the damage. And we will keep showing up. But we are asking you, we are urging you to use your power now. Vote no on this budget. Return it to the mayor. Tell him to take our schools seriously. Tell him to stop dismissing the community he was elected to serve. Tell him to do better. If voting this budget down and sending it back isn't the correct process, then find the process. Use your role to create a path forward that funds our schools appropriately. The mechanisms may be complex, but the need is simple. Our students deserve better, and it's your job to make that happen. This is how democracy works. When one branch refuses to lead, another must step up. That's your role now, and our students are watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. And our next speaker, who also knows he's the next speaker, is Caleb McCauley. And if you would begin, name and address for the record, and when you hear the timer go off, please draw your remarks to a close.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Caleb McCauley, 3 Henderson Avenue. First, I would like to truly, honestly thank you all. The last 6 months has been like a few years. I've heard more earnest and honest conversation from this committee than I ever expected. I've learned in the last 2 weeks more about Beverly than I have the last 12 years living here. I didn't attend all the meetings, but I watched every single one. They were long, some of them. I'm here, I wasn't gonna speak at first, but hearing Andrea and so many other amazing middle school teachers speak, or people at the middle school, made me realize I have to speak. And there's a reoccurring theme here with the middle school and with McEwen. And for me, one of my biggest fears is I volunteered at the 8th grade dance recently, and I heard from a handful of parents that their 4th graders were not attending the middle school this year. My son's birthday party and other 3rd graders, I heard from a lot of them, they're starting to think, what are their plans when their kid hits 4th grade? Are they going to Essex Tech? Are they going to a private school? How are they gonna financially afford it? I am so scared for a middle school. It's not just the cuts from this budget. Next year, there's gonna be cuts, they said. The year after that, they said there's gonna be cuts. What is gonna happen to the middle school? We have the largest middle school in the state. We need to prioritize it. One of the awesome things I learned is we have 3 firehouses. Why do we have 3 firehouses? Because it's the most efficient way to save a house in Beverly, because it's so big. We buy new police cars every year. Why do we buy new police cars every year? Because we need to make sure our officers have the most efficient and useful vehicles to help save people in Beverly. Why are we not going to do the same thing with our middle school and with our pre-K? I'm very worried. I have parents at the pre-K who are extremely worried because the pre-K turned into this amazing program, and now we're going to strip it right when it's like shining. It's like a great, great program. And like I said with the middle school, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my son. I want my son to go to the middle school. I'm gonna fight for the middle school, but I am so scared, and I need to do what's best for him. Now, I know that this vote is a very hard decision, and I don't know the right answer. I'm hoping if you do vote for it, that you guys will take the time to find new funds, to allocate new funds, and to make sure that we are taking care of the people that we need to, the children of Beverly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCauley. Thank you, Ms. Kent. So we do have another speaker signed up, Lorette Folk. Ms. Folk, if you also, as the speakers before you, if you begin with your name and address for the record, and then Vice President Crowley is keeping time. He'll turn that around so that you can see it count down as well. But if you would draw your remarks to a close when it hits the 3-minute mark, you'll hear it go off and the numbers turn red as it counts down the last minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize, I just got here. I was playing a tennis match. I lost. My name is Lorette Folk. I am the parent of 2 middle schoolers here in Beverly. I have written several articles regarding misinformation communicated during the strike and have one article explaining the misuse of Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, data by Dr. Matt Ferrara. So I'm going to read a statement of my own, and then I'm going to continue reading my sister's statement, which I assume she was not allowed to finish. So my statement proceeds as follows. My background includes 20 years of teaching experience and 10 years of curriculum development experience. I am now a technical editor, and it is part of my job to ensure that data and information have been properly used and cited. Dr. Matt Ferrara has misused DESE MCAS data in comparing the legacy MCAS test to the next generation test to erroneously prove that MCAS scores have been in free fall from 2013 to 2023. This was a gross misinterpretation, mainly because the 2 tests have different scales. An analogy for this would be the Fahrenheit and Celsius scales at boiling point. If you look at the Fahrenheit scale, water boils at 212 degrees. But if you look at the Celsius scale, it is 100 degrees. This is not a drop in temperature of 112 degrees. This is 2 ways of measuring the same amount of heat. Similarly, what may appear to be a drop in student ability could very well be measuring the same ability level. DESE rates Beverly with a score of 53 on a growth range of 40 to 60 with respect to MCAS. These data are linked directly in my Patch article and are completely counter to what Dr. Ferrara would have the citizens of Beverly believe about their students. My point is this. If the BTA is motivated by Dr. Ferrara's articles, since the 2 have alarmingly similar claims about the budget, and Dr. Ferrara's credibility is compromised by his misuse of DESE data, then what does that say about the BTA's credibility? To resume what my sister had said. So what about education expense overall? Has Beverly made appropriate increases year over year toward education? According to DESE, from 2014 to 2024, education expenses increased by 44%.
Ms. Folk, that was the 3-minute mark.
I'm going to finish the sentence. Which has outpaced an increased inflation of 30%. In 2025, education expense increases by $5.6 million, and now with this current budget is expected to increase by $7.1 million, resulting increase in $12.7 million. 17% increase toward education for the 2 years. I'm going to read the last paragraph.
Ms. Folk, I've been holding people to a sentence beyond their timer, so I need to hold you to the same thing. But thank you. Are there other that was the last public speaker signed up. Are there other members of the public who did not yet get a chance to speak who wish to speak in this public hearing? All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I see 2 counselors who I believe has remarks.
So I have received remarks that I'd like to read.
You may, but I think Counselor Spang is ahead of you. But yes, thank you for giving the timer to Counselor Rotundo. So Counselor Spang, we're going to hold you to the same 3-minute mark. And so if you hear the timer go off, you need to draw your remarks to a close, please.
Thank you. I'm reading these remarks on behalf of Andrea Taylor from 4 Arthur Street. She was unable to make it tonight. Dear members of the Beverly City Council, I am writing out of deep concern over the proposed budget impacting our schools for the fiscal year 2026. It is incredibly hard to imagine that a thriving city like ours is willing to make these devastating staffing cuts which directly affect our students, families, and educators. It is often said how resilient children can be, and here we are testing that resilience again. My son was in kindergarten when the COVID pandemic happened. That first disjointed year led to 2 more very abnormal years, setting him and many others back academically, socially, and emotionally. Things eventually became more normal, but we were still playing catch-up in 3rd and 4th grades. Fast forward to 5th grade, and we had the teachers' strike, which led to our kids being out of school for weeks. To say our kids have shown perseverance and resilience throughout an incredibly abnormal school experience is an understatement. Our children and our educators do not get enough credit for muddling through some very challenging times, and now we are all fearing a new school year where our students and educators are left struggling with the bare minimum. The above paragraph sums up the general student body. Then you have the kids who are on IEPs and 504 plans like my son. We rely on these plans to be followed as required by law so that our children are given the proper tools to succeed. Our schools are barely able to do this now, yet the city wants to eliminate educators, counselors, administrators from the largest middle school in the state. If not for my son's 504 plan, he would slip through the cracks. He would quietly be forgotten because he falls, quote unquote, in the middle, needing a variety of accommodations which are just enough to keep him up to speed in the classroom. These accommodations may seem minor to some, but they make a world of difference. Without the dedication, compassion, and caring of our incredible Beverly educators, paras, counselors, and administrators, we would be left with nothing. It seems like these individuals, as well as our children, are an afterthought to the city. I can't even begin to understand it. I am asking that you please take the time to consider what really matters in Beverly and how a single vote can make a lasting impact on our future generations. Sincerely, Andrea Taylor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Crowley, you also will be held to the 3 minutes, so if you hear the timer go off, please draw your remarks to a close.
Good evening and thank you. This is a letter from 2 constituents, Joint Desiree Sorelli and Jean Anderson, that are both McEwen preschool paras. Dear counselors, as Beverly educators and residents, we are urging you to vote down the school budget proposed by the superintendent and send it back to the school committee so they can reinstate cuts made to staff. We cannot lose any paraprofessionals. In fact, we're advocating for increased staffing and support. Preschool classrooms are increasingly facing the challenge of meeting growing student needs with insufficient staffing. As class sizes expand, especially when students identified through screenings or those turning 3 are added, there is often no corresponding increase in support staff. This places a significant strain on existing teachers and paraprofessionals. Transitions, such as moving between activities, arrival, and dismissal, are especially difficult with limited adult support. These moments require careful coordination, supervision, and individualized attention to ensure safety and emotional security. Behavioral challenges have also become more frequent and intense, yet the resources to manage them have not kept pace. Paraprofessionals are essential in addressing the complex needs of preschool students. They assist with toileting and diapering, support children with eating concerns, help implement individual strategies for behavioral and developmental needs. Without adequate staffing, these responsibilities can overwhelm teachers and compromise the quality of care and instruction. Furthermore, when teachers attend required meetings, assessments, or conduct observations, paraprofessionals often assume classroom coverage due to the lack of available substitutes. This further underscores their indispensable role in maintaining classroom stability and continuity. Additionally, the absence of an appropriate breakout room limits our ability to effectively support students who need a calm, separate space to regulate their emotions or behavior. This is another reason why we need 2 paras, so we're able to support these students and support the teacher in the classroom at the same time. To ensure safe, supportive, and developmentally appropriate learning environments for all preschoolers, it is imperative to invest in adequate staffing, including paraprofessional support. As you can see, having 2 paraprofessionals in our preschool classrooms is imperative and necessary for safety, learning, and helping to meet the needs of all children. Sincerely, Desiree Sorelli and Jean Anderson, McEwen paraprofessionals.
So I'll just Thank you, counselors. I'll ask one more time. Are there any members of the public who have not yet had a chance to speak who wish to speak in this public hearing? Ms. Kent, just double checking. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of our meeting this evening. And before we shift to the finance and property vote within the context of this meeting, I recognize it's been a long time sitting, both for the members of the public who are here and perhaps for all of us. So I'd entertain a motion just for a 5-minute recess if people need to stretch, use the bathroom, need to go home, you're feel free to do that as well, whatever you need to do, but entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess. All those in favor? Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute recess and we will be back. Thank you. I'll call the full council back to order from our recess. But in doing that, I'm now going to turn things over to Councilor St. Hilaire, who is the chair of our Finance and Property Subcommittee. And this will be a chance for Finance and Property to make a vote that would allow the council to discuss this further. Councilor St. Hilaire, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, call to order the Committee on Finance and Property. Thank everybody for your comments tonight. Kim, appreciate your comments tonight. It's nice to see everybody, and you know, when you have an issue that's so important to the community, to hear the various perspectives. Committee on Finance and Property has before us the entirety of the city budget, Order 171. My thought here is that we would refer this back out to the full council, colleagues, for further discussion and final vote on Monday at our special meeting. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve Order 171 and refer it back to the full council.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments, colleagues?
I'll
Councilor
just
Sweeney.
make a comment for the folks in the audience and anyone watching at home. I do plan to elaborate further on my thoughts on the budget and propose some reductions and part of the larger conversation that we need to have. But this vote here is to make sure that we can get the budget to the full council to have that larger dialogue. Just in case anyone's wondering why it seems like a relatively quick vote here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam President?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Sweeney, you anticipated some of what I also wanted to share just in terms of the process here and why this looks like a quick moving piece, and that Monday night will be a fuller opportunity for everyone here, all 9 of us, to be able to offer our thoughts. And so for my part, you know, I really appreciate, as Councilor St. Hilaire said, hearing from folks this evening, hearing from folks who are here. We've also been hearing from folks by email or phone. And so I know for my part, and I'm sure for my colleagues, I'm thinking about and digesting everything that we've been hearing and learning, and getting ready to come prepared Monday for our larger conversation. Go think together about this. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. So with that, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The vote is approved. Order 171 is referred back to the full council. And that concludes our business tonight for the Committee on Finance and Property. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Committee on Finance and Property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So councilors, as you just heard Councilor St. Hilaire reference, we do have a special meeting on Monday at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. It is, of course, open to the public. It's not a public hearing. That part has concluded, so there won't be public comment, but anyone is welcome to come join us here in the chamber. BevCam, of course, will be streaming as well, so you can watch, follow along from where you are. That will be the opportunity for the full council to have conversation. Councilors can, as you just heard Councilor Sweeney allude to, potentially propose cuts. You heard Mr. Perry talk about at the beginning, our process could include proposing cuts, having conversation about those and where we might go with that. So that will happen Monday at 7 p.m. Councilors, are there any other announcements or reminders that anyone had before we adjourn? Okay. Thank you again to members of the public who joined us. I know some folks have already had to leave, so hopefully they get a chance to watch this part later just for the thank you, because it truly is important in all public processes to have the public engagement, and we appreciate your time, your presence, your words. Whether or not you spoke tonight, your presence here mattered and matters, and so thank you for giving us that time and for sharing with us some of your insight. Thank you to Kim and the BevCam booth for keeping us streaming. And we will be back on Monday. Councilors, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? That carries 9-0. Good night, everyone. Thank you. We are adjourned.